What is the deal with artificial sweeteners? Are they good for you? Are they bad for you? Are they better than real sugar? Or are they worse than sugar for your health? I'm a registered dietitian and I have dug deep into the latest research on artificial sweeteners to share the truth about how these sugar substitutes can affect your health. And you might just be shocked at the answer. Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Amy Lawson, your dedicated dietitian, and today I am sharing some big truths about artificial sweeteners. These little packets promise all the sweetness of sugar without the calories, but how exactly do they work? Are they a game-changer sugar substitute, or could they pose health risks? Let's start with a whirlwind tour of the artificial sweeteners currently on the market. The FDA has approved 6 artificial sweeteners as food additives. Some are 200 times sweeter than sugar, some are 20,000 times sweeter. That sounds kind of gross. Okay, here they are. First up is aspartame, which you may know as Equal, NutraSweet, or Sugar Twin. Then there's acysulfame potassium, or ACE-K as it's also known, and it goes by Sweet One and Sunnit. Then we have sucralose, also called Splenda. You'll find that in all the yellow packaging. Then we have neotame, nutame, and advantame, which are exactly as exciting as they sound. And finally, we cannot forget about saccharin, the OG of artificial sweeteners, which you'll find in those little pink packets labeled sweet and low. What artificial sweeteners have you used? Drop it to me down in the comments. I, for one, used to use Equal and Splenda in my coffee way back in the day. And there's more. We also have sugar alcohols, which, despite their name, don't actually contain alcohol. But they include sorbitol, xylitol, mannitol, lactitol, and erythritol. Has that ITOL on the end. They're a little bit lower in calories than sugar, but they still sweeten things up. And let's not forget the naturally derived sweeteners like stevia and monk fruit. And while the FDA has approved these sweeteners as safe at specified levels, ongoing research continues to examine their long-term effects on our health. Now let's start to unravel the real deal on these fake sweeteners. For years, we've been told artificial sweeteners are a healthy alternative to sugar, especially for those with diabetes or people who are looking to lose weight. But plot twist, recent research totally throws a wrench in that story. Let's start with obesity. Artificial sweeteners are notoriously marketed as a healthy sugar alternative for weight management.
If you replace 3 tablespoons of sugar a day with Splenda, you'll save 100 calories a day. That could help you lose up to 10 pounds in a year.
But do they actually help? A 2023 study found that long-term intakes of aspartame, saccharin, or diet soda may increase body fat and the risk of obesity, regardless of how many calories you consume or what your diet looks like, which is the complete opposite of the messaging and common belief that artificial sweeteners are this healthy, calorie-free sugar alternative. Now to diabetes. What about those with diabetes? It turns out these sweeteners can actually increase blood glucose levels, and they can mess with glucose absorption and our insulin secretion. All things that are not great if you're dealing with diabetes. Plus, if you've been consuming artificial sweeteners from a young age, you might become less sensitive to sweetness overall. It's like these sweeteners wear out your taste buds. Now to cardiovascular disease. A 2022 French study found that the consumption of sucralose, ACE-K, and aspartame were linked to higher risk of cardiovascular disease. The study suggests a potential direct association between higher artificial sweetener consumption, especially aspartame, ACE-K, and sucralose, and increased heart disease risk. Wow. What about DNA damage? A 2023 study by North Carolina University found some very troubling news related to these sweeteners. The study found that when we consume and digest sucralose, a chemical is formed called sucralose 6 acetate, which is genotoxic, meaning it breaks up our DNA. The researchers even go so far as to recommend that people do not consume sucralose. They say, if nothing else, I encourage people to avoid products containing sucralose. It's something you should not be eating. Now, to be transparent, the manufacturer of Splenda states that their product does not contain this S6A chemical, and they want to emphasize that the researchers of the study did not test Splenda for their research. Also note that this UNC research study was done in vivo, meaning in a lab with human cells, not on living organisms like human people. But if this raises alarm bells for you, you are not alone. We certainly need more research to clear this one up. And what about our digestive system? Well, what's more is it turns out these artificial sweeteners can wreak havoc on our gut microbiome. Saccharin, sucralose, and aspartame, known as Sweet and Low, Splenda, and NutraSweet, were tested on the gut bacteria in humans. The participants who were consuming the artificial sweeteners had higher levels of bacteria that produce these harmful toxins and then lower levels of so-called good bacteria. Now, the outcomes depended on what the individual's gut bacteria was like to start with, so keep that in mind. But why does this matter? Well, a balanced gut is linked to better health, so this is definitely something to keep in mind. Plus, the same researchers who uncovered the DNA damage from sucralose found that sucralose also causes leaky gut. Now to cancer. I also want to address the cancer connection. An observational study on postmenopausal women found that frequent consumption of artificially sweetened beverages may be associated with a higher risk of kidney cancer. But there's a big asterisk here. A further study is needed to better understand the role that these artificial sweeteners play in the development of kidney cancer. To further dive into the impact of artificial sweeteners and cancer, there was a comprehensive clinical review done in 2023, and it found that while artificial sweeteners impact our GI function, our neurologic function, and our cardiovascular systems, the majority of recent research data show no link between the use of artificial sweeteners and cancer risk. However, more long-term prospective studies are needed. So although some studies suggest this potential link between artificial sweeteners and cancer, comprehensive reviews generally find no conclusive evidence. And now on to migraines. If you're prone to migraines, aspartame might be a trigger. It's listed as a potential migraine culprit by the American Migraine Foundation and the Mayo Clinic. So heads up if you're sensitive to headaches. Now, the supporters of artificial sweeteners maintain that these fake sweeteners go through our body with no effects. But clearly, with this mounting research, that's just not the case. Next, let's go to a sweetener that's been in the news very recently for some major health reasons. Sugar alcohols have been making headline waves recently, especially erythritol. A 2023 study found a possible link between erythritol and cardiovascular events like heart attacks and strokes, especially in people with heart disease or high blood pressure, which is pretty alarming, right? And just in August 2024, another study found that erythritol might increase your risk for blood clots. Now, this study was small, but it does suggest that those who are at risk for thrombosis might want to be cautious with sugar alcohols. Keep in mind, these findings are preliminary, and while they suggest a possible risk, they don't yet confirm that direct cause and effect relationship. We need further research with larger sample sizes, and it's going to be crucial for these definitive conclusions that we're all looking for. What about natural sweeteners like stevia and monk fruit? They sound healthier, right? Stevia is extracted from the stevia plant, and it's about 300 times sweeter than sugar. Monk fruit is from a melon called the luhangoa, and it's about 100 to 250 times sweeter than sugar. But even though they come from natural sources, they're still processed. Keep in mind that the stevia that you buy in the grocery store is very different from the stevia you can grow in your own backyard. And manufacturers often blend these natural sweeteners with other ingredients like erythritol and xylitol. So take a look at the labels. So while they might seem like a better option, moderation is still key here. Even natural sweeteners like stevia and monk fruit should be used in moderation, and their processing methods can vary, which might affect their impact on your health. So what's the final verdict on artificial sweeteners? The evidence isn't as crystal clear as we'd like. The FDA still considers them safe, but the World Health Organization advises against using them for weight control and disease prevention. Now, as a dietitian, here's my take. If you're using diet soda to help transition yourself away from sugary drinks in the short term and having them in moderation, that's okay. But if you're someone who's consuming these artificial sweeteners on the regular, daily, or multiple times a day, there's enough evidence to recommend cutting these out or cutting way back, especially if you have underlying health issues. There are plenty of natural options out there. Think honey, maple syrup, and fresh fruit. And when you cut out these supercharged fake sweeteners and switch to fruit and natural sweeteners, your taste buds and your gut will thank you. And there you have it, the latest scoop on artificial sweeteners. I hope you found this video eye-opening and helpful. And if you did, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button to stay updated on all things nutrition. As always, when new research comes out, I will be sure to share it with you. And if you're curious about how to use natural sweeteners in your cooking, check out my video on healthy summer desserts. Trust me, the blackberry tart is absolutely delicious. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, eat well, be well, thrive.